Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterland universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Pretoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. A new month, another episode. We are back after a brief hiatus. We've had a couple of episodes scheduled and ran into a flurry of technical schedule health issues along the way, and we are back and ready to roll. Shout out to the guest we were meant to have on a couple of weeks ago, and the project that he is leading, Crypto Eater, and the Aqualis. All things that's happening over there. We're anxious to get him on at some point in the next few episodes to kind of talk all things Aqualis and what's happening over there. But they continue to kind of sponsor us a little bit week to week. So quick shout out to Aqualis. We've got the first, I guess it's a bit of a revolutionary position that we've got. We're playing host to for this episode. He's recently approved as the first official hire from the Splinterlands DAO. I'd love to hear the official title. I don't know if I've seen that just yet, but we've got Clayboyn coming live from Thailand. What's up, man? Welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm kind of just going with project manager. I think that's the easiest title. Yeah, originally we were calling it like community manager and project manager, but this is something that Matt and I had talked about, and we felt like it was going to be like an evolving role. So I think it's more evolved into project manager at this point. But my general philosophy, and this is one of the things I ran into at Splinterlands, is just do what needs to be done. And so at some point it may evolve into other things. I have this tendency to just pick up extra tasks. But I'll go with project manager for now.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. I want to kind of back up and see, you're in Thailand now. Is that right? That's where
Correct.
you're living? We know, like, where are
Yeah.
you from originally, and what brought you to Thailand, and how long ago was that?
Well, I'm from the U.S. and it's kind of funny because like I always lived my life with like this. I want to travel one day. I want to travel one day. And you know what? I got to, I would say, yeah, I guess I got to 36 years old, 35, 36, somewhere in there. And yeah, I still hadn't really like been outside of the country. I think I went to the Bahamas once, and that was like for a senior trip or something. But I ended up getting this job with Splinterlands, and like we had a company meeting, and they were like, if you want to, travel and try to do the digital nomad thing, they would support it. And I was like, green light. Then the only thing holding me back was me. So last year I spent 3 months in Argentina, and honestly, it was like my first real out of the country on my own solo experience, and got to meet some awesome people. I learned hablo a little Espanol, and it was a really fun experience. And the next one I tried was I was like looking around. I wanted to go to Bali because everybody's like always like go to Bali, eat, pray, love, or whatever. But it turned out Bali was not open to having me at that time, and Thailand was. So I was like, screw it, I'll go check out Thailand. And you know what, man? Like it's crazy because I didn't really have like any strong feelings about Thailand. I just was like, hey, it looks like a place to go. And I got here, and man, it's like it's a really awesome place, and the people here are really cool. The cost of living is really low. I would say the cost of living is probably like on par with somewhere like Argentina. But yeah, man, the people here are just really lovely people in general. I mean, there's going to be crap everywhere, but in general, man, there's a lot of really awesome people here.
Any plans to go someplace next, or are you just kind of hanging out there till the wind changes?
Well, so this is the first time I've like I guess gotten into a serious relationship in a long time. So yeah, it's funny. Like I was getting ready to leave Thailand because like I don't know, I kind of felt those layoffs were coming. So I don't know. I feel like since the first round of layoffs, a lot of us were just kind of suspecting that there was going to be more. It felt like the first cuts were a little bit superficial, and I don't want to say that as in like to downplay the importance of anybody, but it just, I come from a business management background, and one of the rules that I've always heard is like whenever you go in, you cut once, you cut deep, and then you let the healing begin. And that first round of layoffs, it felt like there was still a lot of room for cuts, and that's why I was kind of like, like this could work if we, see like a drastic switch, but it was the middle of a bear market, so it's not like there was a lot of room for recovery. So I kind of felt that they were coming, and yeah, I was getting ready to leave. I was looking up tickets, and I was starting to like look for places to rent in Colorado because I was thinking about moving around like Denver or something. Whenever we had Splinterfest, I actually drove across the country because I wanted to pick up Rondon. You guys might be familiar with him.
Mhm.
So like none of us had ever met Rondon, but like me, Aggie, and like some other people, like we've all been friends with him for years. So I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna do my best to make it happen. So I kept talking to him, and he was down. So we drove across, and we got to like stay around Denver for a couple of days on the way back. And like if I go back to the U.S., that's probably where I'm headed. But yeah, so I was getting ready to leave, and just happened to meet my I guess like my now girlfriend, and we've been together since March, and yeah, it's going pretty well. So here I am in Thailand.
Cool, man. So and I'd love to hear, like, did you just spin the globe and stick your finger and landed on Argentina, or was there initial draw to, like, are you a diehard like Argentine barbecue fan? Are you a football guy? Are you a Messi follower? What's the attraction to Argentina, if any?
So no, like I really didn't know anything at all about Argentina. I just like I had this list of places, like I still do. Like I have this list of like 30 different countries that are like basically easy for if you want to go, if you want to like try to do the expat thing and like at some point get citizenship in another country, Argentina is one of the easiest. That's probably why like a lot of Venezuelans go there. But yeah, like I had a friend down there, so went to go meet them, kind of like hung out for a little bit, and just it was good enough to like have a contact there, so that I could not be completely ostracized from the rest of the world, I guess. But also, going to a different country and meeting people for the first time is can can be a little bit dicey. But we had been friends for years, so I wasn't like super concerned. Got to go down there, and man, like honestly, like it's a beautiful country. Like I'm really it kind of like makes me feel bad whenever I looked because I kept hearing people talk about the inflation, and I was like, I don't know. I guess like it wasn't really registering to me because whenever I was down there, it was like 300 pesos to a dollar, and whenever I went to go look, it was still like 300, 350 pesos to a dollar a year later. But then like something registered in my mind, like that's the official rate. Because whenever I was there, the official rate I think was like 130 pesos to a dollar. They're one of those countries that has like the official rate that the government says, and then like the real rate. And then whenever I went to go look at what the real rate was, it's like 1,000 to 1. So like they've basically gone through over 3x inflation in that like the year since I left. So I definitely feel for those people. But it's a beautiful country. There's like Buenos Aires. If you guys haven't been, it's such a beautiful city, man. I went sailing for the first time there. They have like a big sailing community that goes across the Tigre. Like they have this big like this flat calm river, and man, yeah, it's an interesting place. They have lots of art. Really great cultural city.
Very cool. Yeah, personally, I've never been. I've done a lot of exploring around Asia and Oceania, but South America has thus far eluded me.
I've been to
But
Chile, which I loved too. I thought that was awesome. Spent some time in the Atacama Desert, and then did some time kind of on the border with Argentina, actually skiing up in the mountains there. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, people were great. Country is beautiful. I really liked it down in Chile. Like if there's like a country I would think about moving to, it would be that. So I'd love to check out Argentina too. Sounds like they're pretty similar.
Oh man, but Buenos Aires, like if you guys ever get the chance, like you got to go for like a little bit, man. Like I said, I just like I jumped in. I was like, I can get a 3 month visa, okay. So I got a three
Yeah.
month. Yeah, I just went down there for 3 months, and I was by the end, I was kind of like I felt like I had done most of what I could around Buenos Aires because I was like going out like multiple times a week, just like seeing different museums, going to different parks and stuff, and got to see my first llama, so that was fun.
It's a great trip too
nice.
from the US because it's like there's no time difference. Or is Buenos Aires what, like an hour ahead of Eastern Standard maybe?
Uh,
Or
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So like,
it's like not like going to Europe or Asia where it's such a huge time difference. That's crazy.
yeah, like I've been literally on the exact opposite of my family for I guess like since March or not March, I don't know. Like most of this year, I've been completely flipped. But yeah, like the time shift just happened. So now I'm like instead of adjusting 12, I'm adjusting 13 hours, and it's getting me confused again.
Yeah, time is such a weird thing, man. I can completely relate with that. Before I came back to Taiwan, I was living in New Zealand for a little while, and I think it was 21 hours difference. So it's like I'm living a full day in the future ahead of my family, and it's just yeah, it's a bizarre way to kind of approach things. But um anyways, yeah, let's kind of fast forward a little bit and Thailand. So where in Thailand are you? Have you moved around a little bit? Have you done some kind of exploring? Have you hopped on a little not jeepney, but what's the tuk tuk? Have you rented a tuk? Do you got a little tuk tuk as your personal mode of transportation? What's the life like in Thailand, man?
Yeah, so I don't know. I like to mess with my girlfriend because I always tell her I want her to get a tuk tuk and be like my personal tuk tuk driver. But like she's always like, because she thinks it's funny that I find them like interesting. But I've been on a tuk tuk once, and yeah, like they're very much a tourist trap here. Like the taxis are fairly cheap. When you get on a tuk tuk, you're probably paying like 5, 6 times what you would just for a taxi ride. But yeah, I mean, like if I don't drink, I don't party, but like man, if you're out at night partying and drinking, I can't imagine a better way to get around the town than a tuk tuk. But yeah, like they're definitely an interesting like like you're familiar with them, right? They're like kind of like a little, almost like a three-wheel bike, and man, they drive just like the moto taxis, like they drive wild, but I guess if you're into the flashing lights and you're out at night partying, it's definitely a vibe.
So are you in Bangkok or are you further down the
Yeah,
coast? Or
yeah. Right now, I'm in Bangkok. I've been to Chiang Mai, and I would say like I think Chiang Mai is probably more my speed. But let's see. I've tried Chiang Mai. I went to Pai for like a week. The ride up to Pi is like really rough. You have to go like basically on all these like cutbacks for like hours, and it's just like by the time you get up there, like I was like I don't know, like my back was like messed up, just like jerking back and forth the whole way. But yeah, I'm
You're
thinking
not
about
you're not
going.
being towed up the mountains on the back of a more rugged tuk tuk, are you? You got some proper transportation into the mountains.
They use like these little vans, but like they're vans that are like like I guess like the full size vans, so like they fit like 8 people. But yeah, man, whenever you're like, what trips me out is people consider it like a good ride to take on like a bike. I don't think the scooters will make it because you're going like basically up a mountain. But like if you have like a decent like motorbike, they can go up there. And people, whenever they talk about doing the Southeast Asian circuit, where they take like a motorbike tour or whatever around Vietnam and all that, a lot of them go up to like Chiang Mai, Pai, Rai, that whole like northern area of Thailand. And yeah, but driving through mountains on a bike's got to be crazy. But we had people doing it. Like the van would be like riding on like the ass of these bikes and just like man, I'm telling you, dude, if I was on that bike, I would have probably like just crapped my pants. Especially coming back down where the van is just like just braking right on their back wheel the whole time. I'm like, nah, dude. But yeah, I also went to the islands. I probably spent about a month in Koh Samui. Koh Samui is really, really beautiful. We had to go to Ong Tong, which is like it's like a national park here, but I don't know, it's not like what I think of like a national park in the U.S., but like, then again, my U.S. centric view, the national park, I think a forest, but like you come here, like their national park for Ong Tong, which is like one of the most beautiful places I've been. It's like a marine national park. So you go out and there's like it looks like you're in an Avatar movie. I don't know how else to describe it. There's like these giant like pieces of rock just like coming out of the ocean, and then you're on a boat just going around. And like whenever they said we were going to go snorkeling, I was like, okay, I'd never been snorkeling, so I bought a mask and everything. This is what they mean by snorkeling. You pull up on the side of a giant, just like huge ass rock wall. It's like, I mean, there's no beach, there's nothing, and they're just like, get out. So you just jump out in the middle of the water, you look down, and you're like in the middle of this giant freaking reef with like, I mean, it's almost like there's more fish than water. It's a crazy experience, but yeah, man, I've been enjoying getting to branch out, leave the U.S. and just kind of like do things that I would never have done sitting at home.
I know I'll be speaking to Hep's heart with this next question. I think we're all foodies on this side of the People's Guild. I've spent a little bit of time in Thailand. I was blown away by the food. So outside of kind of the traditional like mango salad and or papaya salad and the pad thai, what's your kind of your go-to local dish, man? Like for anybody out there who's listening that's curious to try some new Thai food, what's your personal local recommendation?
Okay, so I'm gonna preface what I'm about to say with I've been keto for a couple of years. It's a little bit harder in Thailand. It's a lot harder in Thailand, but it was probably my favorite thing in Argentina is I could go buy like $3, $4 steaks every day. But yeah, so here like I eat a lot of just like whatever meat I can get. Pork is super cheap here, so like instead of like making hamburgers with all the imported New Zealand and Aussie beef, what I'll do is like I'll go make pork burgers, things like that. I do a lot of cooking for myself. As far as like what I eat here, it's probably going to be very different. Like a lot of people eat, it's funny. Like pad Thai is probably like the least popular food here, which I find hilarious. They eat I'm trying to think of how you say it. It's like crap cow or something. It's like a kind of a I'm not like I don't eat it, but it's like this. If I remember, it's kind of like fried rice with like an egg on top. But it seems to be what a lot of people around here eat because they can get it for like 20 baht, which is less than $1, and then they just yeah. But for me, if I go out and like try to eat street food or something, there's one that I'll eat called Noi Yang, which is basically I'm trying to think how to put this. They take steak, what's like Thai steak. So if you've never had Thai steak, it's a little bit different. It's I would consider it closer to something like flank steak. It's not the best, but what they do is like they slice it into like little thin like strips, and then it's I don't know. It's kind of got like a sweet taste. It's supposed to be spicy, but like I find food in Thailand weird, right? Like when they say spicy and I taste something that's supposed to be spicy, to me it tastes sour. But then like
Mm.
whenever their normal stuff is like everything tastes kind of like sweet here, which being keto is like it makes me nervous that I'm like eating a bunch of hidden sugars. But I think in general, man, like this, it's hard to argue that if you walk around and look at the average Thai person and then walk around the U.S. and look at the average U.S. person, they're doing something right with their food. So you know, I can't really complain. But as somebody that's been keto, my diet's pretty restrictive. But you know, it seems to be what works best for me. I've been able to drop a pretty substantial amount of weight with it, so I just try to keep going with that. I finally got a place with a swimming pool, so I can go do a little bit of exercise every day now, and just you know, trying to get into better life habits to, you know, hopefully not spend my 40s you know, regretting things, but you know, just try to live more consciously.
Sure.
Yeah. There's a Thai restaurant in DC that was supposedly more northern Thai food, which they said was traditionally a
Yeah,
lot
like Khao
spicier.
Soy. Or, yeah.
It's like I don't remember. I think it's now closed, and it was a while since I've been there. But they had like this, like kind of like a tasting menu thing where they would do, and like this level of spice on each dish would build, so it was like hotter and hotter. And then the last dish, they had it called something, but it translated, they said, to like the waterfall. And I was like doing well until I hit this one, and like they're like, yeah, they call it the waterfall because most people are like sweating and crying by the time they get through it. And like it seriously was one of the spiciest things I have ever eaten. It was like this is a time in my life where I was eating a spicier food more often. I was like had a little bit more higher tolerance for spicy food than certainly I do now. And I had actually just gotten back from spending some time in China. And like outside of like Chengdu and Lushan, so Szechuan food, which is like eating like super spicy hot pot, and like everything's cooked in chili oil. Like I felt like I was legit, like I can handle it, and this just like broke me. It like broke me. It was brutal. So if you ever see something on a menu somewhere that translates to a waterfall or something, you be careful. That one's probably not going to be too sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, get
Yeah,
your
no,
helmet
but
on
it's
for that
fun.
one.
Dude, like I love spicy, man. Like that's one of the things like I'll cook here a lot is I'll make my own tacos. But I try not to do it as much because beef is so expensive here, and pork tacos were not very good. I tried that, but yeah, like so all the beef here, well, not all, but a lot of it is pretty much like imported from Australia or
Wow.
like the cheese, the dairy stuff seems to all come from New Zealand. So like it's got a big premium on it. Like for example, I can get a kilo of ground pork for like 125 baht, which is $3, $4, like between $3 and $4, or I can get a half kilo of beef for 250 baht. So
Mm,
just like to put it in perspective, it's like
4 times the price.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I
Mm.
mean, it's a big markup to get, and it's frozen ground beef. It's like it's nothing special.
Mm.
Mm.
So yeah.
That's not like ribeye, big
Oh
ribeye.
no, dude. So I've tried steak in Thailand a couple of times, man. I love the Thai people, and I hope I don't offend any of them with this, but man, like they cannot cook steak for crap. Well, not like a U.S. style steak. Like I said, like if they want to do something like Noi Yang, like it's actually pretty good, but like it's their own way of cooking it. I think that there's a lot of restaurants in Thailand that try to like emulate westernized food, and steak is like the worst one to try because the cows here are like really really thin, and like they don't have a lot of fat on the bone. Like they're very grizzly, and just it's not like what ideal steak. And I have had one really really good steak while I was here. Like they have like a Thai Wagyu. But, everybody's got their own Wagyu now. But like it was actually like a decently marbled steak and everything. The problem was for that one steak, I want to say it was like almost 2,000 baht. And just to like give you some idea, for like a 10-ounce steak, I think it was like almost 2,000 baht, which is like 60 something bucks. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's fine to do that once, but like, I don't like to live my life that extravagantly. I'm usually trying to look for like a dollar, couple dollars a meal.
Now you got to go to the source with that one, man. You gotta ask where the supplier's coming from. How adventurous are you with your palate, Clay? Because I can say with a fairly high degree of certainty, all the insects and larvae and scorpions are definitely keto friendly.
Oh man, so I gotta tell you, this was an eye opener for me. So I did do the Khao San tour thing one night, not like really a tour, but just kind of like walk to see like what Khao San. And yeah, turns out it's a tourist trap with a whole bunch of really sketchy people. And I would not suggest you go to Khao San if you come to Bangkok unless that's what you're into. But it's
Is that like
basically like a
the
whole bunch of
Pattaya market area? Is that what that is?
Khao San is basically what I would call like Bangkok's kind of red light district. Like Thailand's a weird man. Like technically prostitution's illegal, but I mean,
Oh, it's rampant.
I
It's
don't
everywhere. Yeah.
think you yeah I don't think you'd have any trouble finding it if that's what you're looking for. But yeah, so I went to Khao San because like I heard that that's like the cool place, the party place, whatever. Basically, there was a lot of random people just selling weed like in little stalls on the side of the road. There's a ton of bars. There's a bunch of chicks and like even some dudes that are like standing around that try to pull you into the bars, and there's people that stand around with little signs that are like ping pong show or what. But yeah, like so I walked around for like 30 minutes and I was like, okay, that's enough for me. And that's where I got my tuk-tuk ride whenever I left. So of course, I got price gouged on that. But yeah, like as far as the whole bug thing, I don't think it was Calcine, but like whenever we had first started dating, I took my girlfriend to like one of the night markets or something, and they had the silkworms, they had the scorpions. That's the first time I saw them was on Calcine. That's why I was thinking about that. But yeah, so like she won't eat the scorpions, but she did eat the silkworms, and I gotta tell you, like that was probably like that was the one point where I was like, what am I doing? But man, I mean,
Did
at
you
the end
make her
of the
go
day,
home and
dude.
like brush her teeth before you'd kiss her after that?
Oh yeah, there was no way. I was just like, man. But then again, like it's different cultures, right? Because like whenever I cook, it's like I do a lot of my own cooking here, and it's funny because like she actually spent a year in the U.S. on like some kind of like a work program or something. I think she was working at like a casino or something. They were doing I don't know, like what do you call it? Like I guess like a work visa program or whatever. So she spent a year in the U.S. and like that was one of the things that she's always like U.S. food's too salty or something. So like whenever I cook, I'll just like completely leave the salt out of my cooking, and then she still says it's too salty.
Hmm.
I just find it funny. But yeah,
Mm.
but she'll eat silkworms. That man, if you guys haven't seen it, like basically they take the silkworms and they kind of like fry them up. Oh man, like I can't even imagine. I bet you like they make popping noises. I just like I don't even
Oh,
want to
sounds
think
so
about it.
good.
It does. It sounds delicious. Actually, my first experience with eating insects was crickets in Japan, and it's just like you go to a restaurant, and in the States they'll bring you like bread or peanuts or something to snack on while you're kind of perusing the menu and sipping on some adult beverages. While in Japan it's a big basket of crispy crickets. And I was 24, 25 years old, and the beers were running hot and heavy that day. And man, crickets is delicious, man. You got to give it a try, Clay. You don't know what you're missing out on until you give it a try, man.
Yeah, especially on keto. Yeah, like Ben said, they're just crunchy pieces of protein, man. It's
High
good stuff.
protein, high
Yeah.
protein.
Maybe I'll be able to break that barrier one day. But like, yeah, no, she always wants me to try like random stuff, and I'm just like here's the thing about like so we go up to Pai. I don't know if you guys are familiar where Pai is, but like if you go up north, like there's Chiang Mai, and then if you take a van for like I think like 3 or 4 hours up into the mountains, there's like this kind of like little uh, I think it used to be more of like a hippie village, but now it's just kind of touristy. Like they have like these like canyons and stuff. It's a really cool place, really beautiful. But we go up there, and then like there's not like other than like a little bit of like a river. There's no water around, right? So we go up there, and we're walking down like their walking street, getting like looking at like what the food options are, and she orders squid, like just like street vendor squid in the middle of a mountain. I'm just looking at her like I'm like, are you thinking about the logistics of this? Like, it is funny because it reminded me whenever Ron and I were driving across the U.S., we're like in the middle of, I think we're like in the middle of Kansas or something like that, and there's a fresh seafood restaurant, and I'm just like, I can't remember where it was. Like, it was like either Kansas or something. Like, there's no water anywhere around. It was just like, like fresh seafood, and I'm just like,
Define fresh. Yeah.
but yeah, man, it's like so we're just like straight up in the middle of in the middle of Walking Street in this like little tiny mountain town, and she's like ordering street squid. And I'm just like, that's the moment where I'm like, I don't think we're gonna ever fully be on the same page with the food, but that's fine.
Well, so my parents came to visit me in Taiwan. I've lived in Taiwan off and on for a better part of the last decade, and my parents came to visit after I was pretty well acclimated. My palate was fully adjusted, and my mom was borderline vegetarian at the time, and I just told her and my stepdad, I'm going to order food, ask questions later. I'm going to order good food. Don't worry about what I'm getting you. And one of the first things I ordered my mom, it was in hindsight a little bit cruel, perhaps, but I think back to the days when I was a kid and my mom would cook asparagus. It was like the worst thing on the planet when I was a little kid, and I wouldn't finish it. Well, guess what? Guess what I was having for breakfast the next day? Cold asparagus. So maybe we'll call it a little bit of payback. But the first thing that I ordered for my mom, it's called yashie, and it literally translates to duck blood soup. And it's like, I'm sure Heb, you saw this in Sichuan. It's like coagulated blood with chunks of tofu. It's like a spicy broth. It's absolutely delectable. It's insanely delicious. It's got so much flavor. And my mom, I mean, you can just imagine her reaction as she's like, feeling these textures and trying to like pinpoint like where on the food chain is this thing? What is this thing that I'm eating? I don't think I told her for a couple of days, but yeah, she was ready to throw me out of the car and and send me on my way. But I the way that I look at the foods, because it is very different from what we're accustomed to back home, right? But if the locals are eating it, it's got to be delicious, right? Like they're not going to be eating something that doesn't taste good or it's not nutritious.
They don't know any better. Who knows?
Yeah. Also true. Also true. Yeah.
That's just the way,
So,
how do you compare stuff when, people think, you grow up eating one type of food one way and that's what you think is good. You know what I mean? It's just all subjective. It's like so many other things in life that, especially us as Americans, it takes us a while to realize and consider these things, that, yeah, it's just different cultures and different ways. Like people think cheese is disgusting. Like you said, it's hard to get cheese. Like people, a lot of Asian cultures like cheese is disgusting, and they're right. I always tell people, you talk to people about eating weird foods, and people think eating bugs is weird, and I'm like, what's the weirdest food I think in the world that people eat is eggs. It's so weird, right? Like, but it's so normal because we grow up eating it. But it's like you take this like unfertilized embryo from a chicken and you crack it open in a frying pan and cook it up. And yeah, it's good. They're delicious, but that's weird to me. That's weirder than eating a bug. That's way weirder than like frying a bug up and eating it. I in my head, it's weird and strange, but I do it. I like it, but we're just so used to it, so.
Just remember, in the U.S., they literally have a chicken stuffed inside of a duck, stuffed inside of a turkey.
Yeah.
Turducken? Is that the famous
yeah.
turducken?
Yeah, like man, it's interesting. And I try to be mindful of that. Like I can tell you the biggest like eye opener for me, and this took like probably the most getting used to, is just the way, like, if you order food in the US, like everything is like wrapped to hell. Like you've got plastic wrappers on everything. There's so much like just like paper waste and everything. Whenever I went to Argentina, like seeing street vendors for the first time, like that was kind of eye opening to me, right? Like I'm seeing people with like just empanadas on the side of the road, and I'm like, where's the cool, like, how do they keep it, like temperature or whatever, and like all that stuff's going through my mind because I worked at restaurants in the U.S., so I know like food safety control and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, whenever you get outside and then you realize like all these people are still alive. Like right, like they've been eating this stuff their whole life. So maybe what we learned in the US is maybe not all exactly the way things really are. And then I get to Thailand, man, and dude, I don't think you can walk like pretty much anywhere in Bangkok. And I mean, dude, like I remember my first week in Bangkok or something. Like I just like I walked out of the Airbnb and like just started walking, right? Because I was just like I want to go see. Like, dude, I was going down this like little back alley, right? Like this like little like cut through back alley that I don't think you could even get like much of a full size car through. There's still like a lady just on the side of the road with like a little pop up food stand. Man, they're everywhere. Like all the main roads, there it's insane. Like everybody, like I guess they don't have laws against it or something. They just like, man, you walk around anywhere in Bangkok, you're gonna find like some of the best food in the city just like on the side of the road for like nothing. It's just like it's dirt cheap.
Well, man,
Or
I got to
you'll
tell
pay
you
10
some
times.
so and I don't think you can necessarily indulge in this, but the fruit in Thailand just blew my minds, man. Like they're you walk through the markets and there's stuff that looks like you said, man, it looks like stuff straight out of an Avatar's, like James Cameron's mind, just 3D animated these crazy looking alien fruits. And like once you break it open, the meat is even crazier looking and the flavors are just explosive. Yeah, hey, have you taken a couple days off from keto to indulge in some of the wild fruits over there?
So yeah, like I said, my girlfriend's always trying to get me to like try random things. She loves durian, so I guess we can get that one out of the
I
way.
was gonna ask. I was gonna ask.
Dude, like I really thought durian was gonna be bad. Like I really thought it was gonna be like the smell and everything, but like it doesn't really bother me at all. Like which I found really weird because normally like smell is like one of the things that I have the biggest problem with. Like my first trip on a wet market, I was walking around trying not to gag the whole time. But yeah, man. So it's like she was eating the durian, and I'm just like, it doesn't smell that bad. Like if anything, it's like almost like a little bit like a cantaloupe type smell or something. So like my dad ate cantaloupe growing up, so durian didn't really bother me. I'll tell you the one that like really like messed with my mind is she got like this like little bag of these like little bitty green things. I don't even know what they're called to this day. And like I was looking at them, and it's like they've got like a pit in them, kind of like um maybe like a is it plum or plum's the one that have the big pit in them or no like
Mhm.
peaches. Okay, so like it's got like a pit like that in it, and it's small like maybe like the size of like a really fat cherry tomato or something. Like they're green. They have a texture kind of like a pear, but like whenever you bite into it, it tastes just like an apple. So like that one blew my mind. I don't know what those are called. There's this weird like almost like strawberry looking thing, but like it's got like green like little like tentacles that grow out in every direction. It's like she told me the name of it. It's like
Is that the
ram.
rambutan?
Yes, rambutan, dude.
Yeah, that's good
What?
stuff.
Like, yeah, the first time I saw those, I was just like, what the hell is that? But yeah, man, there's like that. I think that's what messed with my mind the most is that like they basically have like a whole different like spectrum of fruit here that like you never see in the US. And then like
Not
if
to
you want to
mention
buy
like probably like 15 or 20 different kinds of bananas that you can buy, ranging from like
um
small bunches that are like the size of your thumb to
yeah, so like that's the weird thing, right? Like I don't think people really eat bananas here from what I've seen, but like you can buy them and feed them to the elephants. Like I won't ride the elephants. I think that like elephant riding is like really crappy. But yeah, anyway, I don't like that. But anyway, they do that here. But like what I'll do is like whenever I see like they have it set up for people to go ride the elephants, they usually also have like the option you can go buy some fruit. So then like one day I think it was Ayutthaya. They basically you could go over there and you could buy just like this giant like fuck off bucket of like assorted fruit. Like I mean it's huge. And I think it was like 100 baht, so like $3. You've got like basically a 5 gallon bucket full of just random like fruit. and like there's a lot of bananas and stuff like that in it, and like sugar cane. And like what I would do is I would go feed the elephants. And man, I'm telling you, you've got like you, you ever want to like have a weird surreal experience, like stand in front of a lineup of like 12 giant elephants. Now they're like chained up, obviously, so it's not ideal. But I went and I would just like start giving them the food because like that's one of the things you can do is you can feed them. And man, I'm telling you, it's a surreal experience having like 12 giant like elephants acting almost like lap dogs in front of you.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's so cool,
they're
man.
really interesting creatures, man.
That's awesome.
Very cool. All right. Well, we've killed about an hour talking about all things not Splinterlands. Should we steer the ship back towards Pretoria? Is there anything else kind of
Clay had said that, he's been, since he's been doing his travels, he's been working on his philosophy some. So I want to know, you're in Thailand. Have you been, reading any of the Buddhism? Have you gone to any of the temples there? Have you been kind of trying to integrate any of that into your life?
So it's interesting. Like I don't really ascribe to anything specifically, and I think like maybe that's on some level why like I like a lot of the like fundamentals that come along with Buddhism, but here they are very much like practicing Buddhist, if that makes sense. Like they are like the like almost like ritualistic about it, and I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend to like understand Buddhism, but I have studied it like enough. Like yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like DT Suzuki, Alan Watts to some extent, but like these are people that kind of like took a more westernized approach on Buddhism, and I don't know. I definitely resonate with a lot of it. I think the underlying message in general of just getting to a place where you stop trying to like put on the show all the time, right? Like just accept who you are, be yourself, and I think that's good life philosophy, right? Like I feel like we, especially being in the U.S., I can't speak for everybody, but growing up, it definitely felt like I was taught that you have to be something, at all times, right? And it's whatever that thing is never was actually what I was, So it's like, whenever you want to go into the workplace, you got to put on this like dog and pony show, and you got to be the good corporate stool or whatever, and then going to college, right? Like I can remember my parents basically like I had no idea what I wanted to be. So of course, I've got my parents like, oh, go into something medical or, whatever. And it's like it definitely felt like most of my life was people trying to tell me what I was supposed to be. And man, I want to say it was like 30 years old. Like I was driving to work every day, like hated my life. Like I can remember there was probably like this like 6 month stretch of just driving to work every day thinking like it would probably be a better day if I just like took a hard right off the interstate into a tree. And I was like, man, this is not how you're supposed to live your life. Like if this is all there is to life, like what am I doing? And like that to me, like that was the big change. That's whenever I was just like, like fuck it, I'm getting into blockchain because it was the only thing I was even passionate about at the time. Man, like there was a lot of like crappy days back then. Like I can remember just posting on Steam for like a couple bucks a day just to like get by. But man, like in retrospect, it's the best thing I could have ever done because it taught me to have a lot different outlook on things like money. It taught me that your own happiness and your own well-being is worth more than money. And it's given me a very different outlook on life. But man, honestly, I like if I could wish anything for anybody else in the world, it would be get to that point where you can just accept who you are and do what you want in life. And life feels a lot different when you don't have to always be putting on a show, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, man,
Oh
that's
man,
awesome. So you
yeah,
steered it right
appreciate
back
you
to
sharing that,
Splinterlands
Clint.
things. Yeah.
No. I'm glad you asked that. We had talked about that before we hit record, and yeah, just kind of slipped my mind when I saw the clock. But yeah, Clay, it's great to hear that you've kind of rounded that bend and found I guess a little bit clearer picture of what your purpose in life is meant to be. And I think it kind of comes full circle with you getting the position at the Dow, right? Like that, it sounds like that, it's been a series of kind of bits and pieces throughout the last decade that has kind of culminated in this position. And what better way to kind of put a a feather in your cap with all things blockchain than to be hired by a DAO. Like that's a pretty cool kind of happy ending to that stuff. Right? And assuming that's just the beginning, but for this point in time.
Yeah, I honestly, man, like I really didn't even have expectations with this. Like I was, I expected, like, let me put it this way, I expected there to be a lot of drama, a lot of negativity, just for even proposing it. But I figured like I might as well take a shot, right? I was like, I know what the alternative is. It's either I go work for a different project, and like that felt very dishonest to me because I mean, I just spent like the last 2+ years putting everything into Splinterlands, man. Like, because remember we were actually set up to do this, like right before the layoffs, and I was just like, I'm like, look, man, like I'm just not in a place to do this right now. I had to go take a little bit of time off and just. It's funny, man, because like I think I spent like 3 or 4 days just kind of like disconnecting from like the internet and everything, and just kind of like chilling out. And it put things into perspective, and it's something that I'm trying to like keep in mind, even going into this whole DAO thing, because I'm already doing it again. But like you gotta remember to like have enough separation to like also have time for yourself in real life. And with Splinterlands, I was definitely very much one of those people. It's like wake up and it was just Splinterlands all day, and it's weird because it's not like anybody ever like asked me to do these things or like told me you got to work like too much or anything like that. It's just kind of like how I am. Whenever like I'm passionate about something, like it's easy for me to just kind of like get lost in it. And so I'm trying to be more mindful of that right now. I'm trying to like make sure I do something like I cook every day, or or I try to like I go to the pool, go walk around, just try to make sure I'm not like sitting here just like work all day. But yeah, man, like yeah, it definitely sucked, getting laid off. But also it's weird because like while it sucked, it was also like very much in my mind like this is exactly what I would do, because like this is like I said, I've been kind of expecting it. And I definitely felt like the company needed to probably slim down and restructure a bit. I was obviously hoping I wasn't going to be part of that, but yeah, like it was basically like either I'm going to go find a different project to work with, or I'm going to have to go back into the corporate world, and I already know how that ends. And basically, it came down to the corporate world's not an option because I just like I hate it. Like I really like I hate it. I know it's not how I like to live my life. Like I'm not the 9 to 5 like go show up and pretend to be something for like a little while. Um, and yeah, I was just like, you know what? Like, I reached out to Matt and I was like, I've been thinking about doing this. I wanted to get your opinion. Like, is this something you guys would honor if the DAO, approves it somehow? And he was like, you know what? I think this is an awesome idea. He's like, I'll actually put the proposal out myself. I was like, okay. um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that must
like,
have felt pretty good when he offered to do that, because that's it just gives it so much weight behind it.
yeah, and it's funny because like I don't know, I don't want to get into all the drama, but like there was plenty of people that were just like, yeah, it's like some insider deal. I'm like, guys, if you guys like really understood, like Matt and I have never been like super close. He's like a dev guy, and I was not like working that closely with the devs. Like I've had interactions with Matt. He's trusted me to do a lot of things, and I think a lot of that came from like Ag trust me because I've worked with Ag for years. But yeah, like so keep in mind, like the guy that got me, into the company was gone. All right, so like Matt and I had never been close. So I didn't really have any expectations from him. I just like I kind of threw it out there as like a last ditch kind of like Hail Mary of like I would really like to still be trying to do something to build value for Splinterlands and this community. And whenever he was like full on in support of it, I was kind of like wow, it caught me off guard. But I think it's a good reminder to just not have like all these crazy expectations that we put on ourselves in situations in life. And I mean, you don't know unless you try, right? And like I said, man, as much as like I thought that this would be cool, as much as I think I could add value, and everything, I didn't go into this with like the mentality that it was just gonna be a likely outcome. I was just like, I've seen how the community reacts. I've seen how like a lot of the proposals go, and I've had a lot of people ask me like, why would you even do this to yourself? And I'm like, at the end of the day, like if it's what you're passionate about, it doesn't feel as bad. Like, I mean, obviously there was some crap that I didn't really appreciate, and I mean, it is what it is. Like it's part of the game. It's part of the crypto space. There's a lot of jaded people that have been burnt, and it is what it is. So you have to be mindful of that stuff, and it like I look at this as like I'm getting an opportunity, right? And I think part of that opportunity is I have to prove that I'm worth that opportunity to these people. So I think a lot of them know me well enough at this point. And other than that, I think the rest of them are just going to have to see like the work ethic, and hopefully we can get some really good positive changes. Get some good economic impact on SPS. Like to me, like that's the biggest thing. Like I really, 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 really want to get our DAO focused on driving value to SPS instead of constantly worrying. And look, like I get that it's a governance token. I get that Splinterlands is part of the picture, but like the DAO has to be focused on driving value to SPS. Like it has to. Like that's its fundamental purpose. That's how it survives. So
Mm.
my goal is to like really like look for initiatives and ways that we drive value to SPS, and like of course Splinterlands too. But it seems like we've had no focus on SPS for the longest time, and here we are at 1.4 cent SPS, and people just think it's like a random shitcoin now. I don't think that at all, man. I think like look at what we've done. We've had like 40 something proposals that we've managed to put together and pass. We've had like a lot of those. I think it's like 12 that we managed to shut down. I think we've got 5 pre-proposals going right now. Like, yeah, like I think the governance aspect of this is very, very serious, and I think the fact that we're working with people like Matt that will honor these proposals and that they're willing to like respect the will of the community. I mean, I hate always going back to this example, but like, man, when the whole bot and battle helper ban thing, like I'll tell you, like this was probably the most conflicted I ever felt with the company, right? Because I know the company line was like, I mean, business sense, like those things were good for the company, right? Like there was no incentive for the company to say like let's get rid of bots and battle helpers. And honestly, like I gained a lot of respect for Biz over this too, because like basically I got involved in a conversation that was going on with a couple of really big stakeholders. Dave's come out, so I think like you guys know Dave's involved. So it's basically me, Biz, Dave, and a couple other people that kind of like all got into that really big drive to like finally get like a human only league going. And like there was that part in my mind where I'm like, this is a major conflict of interest for me. And I even remember like reaching out to Biz, and I'm like, you understand like what we're doing here may not go over well. And he's like, well, I don't think we're breaking any rules. And I'm like, I don't think we are either. And I'm just saying, like, you got to remember that, like, like we're basically going against the company's stance. And I don't regret it, man. I think it was the right decision. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't. And I think it's had a really good positive impact. That said, I think that's a prime example of why whenever Matt says you need a clear separation between the company and the DAO, it's something to be mindful of, right? Like, especially if I'm going to be doing this project manager lead, do you really want somebody that's sitting there thinking about the company's bottom line more than what's right for the community or what's right for the DAO? And like I said, e- even with Matt knowing that like I've been involved in stuff that like he's completely like opposed to like that, and he would still support me, I think was probably the like the biggest like kind of like humbling thing about it, right? And like that's been my experience with Matt. Like I said, I haven't had like a ton of experience like interacting with him like I have with Ag, but he's always struck me as somebody that's like willing to hear what you had to say, whether he agrees or not. And he's willing to consider his position, right? But like, I think that's one of the things we need more of is just people that don't have this like locked in like I'm right, everything has to be my way mentality. like you have to be willing to question and consider other perspectives. And like I said, I've gained a lot of respect for him throughout this whole process.
Mm. Man, you raised a ton of good points there, and first thing I want to call out is you mentioned you don't know until you try it. Well, I'll toss the subtle reminder next time your girlfriend approaches you with the silkworm proposition to remember those words, Clay. Number two, man, you call out a really good point with Matt and his relentless and undying support for everything that the DAO and decentralization represents. I think we've heard, man, I don't even think I could toss a number on it to kind of appropriately estimate how many times Matt has said this, but time and time again, both in town halls and, we've heard him talk outside at like NYC NFT and some of these other, crypto conference conventions. And he always sticks to his guns in that, the DAO should be completely separate. And, the opinions that are being passed through and filtered through to the DAO should represent exactly what you're saying. Whether it goes against the company stance or not is irrelevant. The main purpose of that is representing the voice of the community and therefore, the players and the playership. So yeah, I think, kudos to Matt for, I think he caught initially a lot of flack for, maybe what was seen as pushing for a little bit of nepotism, bringing in a crony named Clay to kind of, sweeten the deal on, management of both the company and the DAO. But, in the subsequent weeks, I think it's become pretty clear that, that's actually not the case. And, we've heard you, and I think Matt, kind of shared similar sentiment in that, your relationship and the degree of interactions that you guys have had over the years has not been that great. Like, I mean, and what I mean by that is just not in volume. There hasn't been a whole lot of it. Yeah, man. So I appreciate you kind of sharing that. And as far as the perspective, it's really funny how, you can see it a lot in Discord. You can see it a lot on YouTube comments or Twitter comments. We operate in a lot of echo chambers, right? Like you hear what you want to hear, and you're gonna the voice that you read that represents and resonates with your own opinion is at the loudest volume, and everybody else is wrong. But having the perspective to consider and reconsider your own perspective, that's really invaluable, especially with this game and zooming out with life, right? Like we're not right about everything, and there's always something else to consider with our position. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing all of that Clay. I look forward to see what's kind of waiting around the bend for the DAO and the community. And here in a second, I'd love to give Hep a chance to chime in here, but before we hit record, we were talking about some of the stuff that's kind of happening by way of, some conversations around what's next for the DAO and that sort of stuff. But yeah, before we get there, Hep, did you have any thoughts you wanted to add?
No, I do. I want to hear about, what you've been up to as the project manager and kind of what's been going on. And then, yeah, I'd love to hear what you kind of see as the vision for everything moving forward.
Okay, so one of the first things, and I actually started pushing this even before getting hired, is I feel like the DAO, like the community in general, hasn't had a lot of insight into like the exchange market making side of things. And like I'll tell you guys, like I'm a like personally I'm a DEX person. Like I'm not like super gung ho on centralized exchanges or market making. But over the last couple of years, like I've gotten into that side of the business enough to understand how it works to accomplish things. And even like setting my personal perspective aside, I think the community needs to be aware of the situation and have the chance to make its own choice, right? And so, like, basically, here's the situation. We're looking at essentially getting delisted from most of our meaningful exchanges. Meaningful is subjective, If you think like crypto.com, HTX, Gate, like the ones that I guess are most useful to most people. Like what we just don't have the volume or the liquidity to even support those listings at the moment. Now, previously, the company had set up like a like what's called a lending based market maker that was essentially there's so many like NDAs. That's going to be the thing that I hate the most about this aspect of the business is like I can't even like say names until things are like public. And I can put it this way: we were working with one of like the leading lending based market makers in the world, and they were doing a pretty good job until the bear market hit, and then the bear market hit, and they just decided they were going to be for lack of a better word here, I'm going to go with useless. I think that's like a good PR word here. So they just basically started doing like the bare minimum. Uh, Now keep in mind these guys had like a lot of money, like a lot of our money was lent to them to basically provide a service, and they essentially spent the last 3 or so months of their contract trying to avoid actually providing the service, and I managed to get our liquidity back from them. And I don't know, it kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth. But like this is what happens. Like bear market comes, time gets tough, and they start acting like scumbags. But it's part of the crypto industry. So like I'm glad I was able to get our money back there. But here's the thing: like whenever they stopped, like what happens is we have no liquidity on all these exchanges. So like right now, even if you want to go to like say you want to go on HTX or you want to go on crypto.com and you want to buy some SPS, there's just not liquidity there. You can maybe buy like $100 or so worth, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like feasible liquidity to actually trade with. So what a market maker does is they keep tight constraints on the books, which so like right now I have a proposal out for Flowdesk, and this is just throwing an option out to the community. We're gonna actually do a Twitter space on the new SPS DAO Twitter next week, I think Tuesday, to like introduce them to the community. And like I'll say, they're the only market maker I found that is fine with being 100% transparent. Like I can tell you their name, I can like show you guys their offers, and like that gets a lot of respect from me in this space. But like I said, it's an issue that like personally I'm not like super gung ho about, and I don't want that to like color other people's opinions, right? Because I realize that there's a lot of people out there that are like, we need a Binance listing, and I'm like, well, whether or not I agree, if that's the will of the DAO, it's my job to facilitate it. So I try to be as frank as I can. Like obviously I can't break NDAs, like I can't tell you numbers, or I can't even tell you if I've spoken to them. But I can give you rough ideas of what a tier one exchange listing costs. I can tell you like what kind of budget we would need to operate to get one set up, and that like includes market making and deposits. Um, but yeah, like so this I would say is one of the areas that like I tried to like hit the ground running with, out the gate, is just educate people on the current situation, which is we're going to get delisted if we don't, and like here's what the repercussions of that look like. And like I said, I've been trying to do my best to educate people on what I consider like the man behind the curtain aspect of the crypto industry that like I think most people don't really understand, right? Like there's a lot of people that are just like, "Boom, Binance listing Mooncoin, let's go," and I'm like, dude, if you had any idea like how these conversations go, like what these companies ask for, like it's not so black and white. It's not so like just do this and like magic happens. Like it's like there are extreme costs to some of these moves. Like again, like I can't really get into it all, but all I can tell you is I can understand why it didn't happen.
Mm.
Now I can also tell you if the DAO is dead set on making it happen, I'm fairly confident I can make it happen. But that said, like it's going to take a lot of the DAO's resources to make something like that happen, and I'm going to do my best to be as transparent and upfront with every like the whole process as I can be. And like I said, working with a market maker that will point blank tell you what they're asking, what their terms are. And man, Flowdesk is actually like they seem really, really willing to work with the DAO, like to the extent that they even dropped their prices significantly. So again, like I'm not trying to tell people we need to do this or not, but I will say I think they're being very fair with us.
Well, Clay, I heard you, and I want to kind of shift gears, zoom out a little bit, and take a step back to, I'm going to reference the Aftersound call. It was Tails dropping some questions your way, and you and Aftersound, the three of you guys were kind of steering the conversation down the stretch there. And something that kind of piqued my interest was your philosophy in terms of what your kind of primary responsibility is with respect to this project management role at the DAO. And you kind of voiced the opinion that it was from the perspective of presenting the current problems and then hearing how the community suggests to respond to said problems. Something that maybe I'm wrong here or maybe I'm right. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but something that I would, because you've got the 10 years of experience dealing with blockchain, you're fairly well versed. Some of the ins and the outs of dealing with market makers and DAOs and et cetera, et cetera. Something that I would love to see from you is, I think you were chosen because of this experience, and therefore your opinion should be more valid than somebody else in terms of what is the proposed solution. So instead of just, here's problem A, what is the proposed solution from the community? I would love to see you kind of bridge that gap and say, here are some potential solutions. Let's start a discourse around, what are the positives and negatives of each of these proposed solutions? You know what I mean? And sort of steer that conversation a little bit more logically than just throwing it to the fire of Discord and Peak D. So what are your thoughts about, I know you want to refrain from injecting your personal opinion, but I would go on the opposite side and say that's why you were hired, is because you have the experience to have a more valuable personal opinion. Therefore it's justified to share as a suggested, possible solution.
Well, yeah, I want to be clear on this. Like, I don't have any problem sharing my opinion. Like I wrote like a crazy long, I think like 2,000 word, basically, kind of like dissection of this whole situation and what I think our options are. And like I put that out for the community to kind of like digest and mull over. What I don't want to do is tell you this is how we have to proceed, right? Because like I don't think that's how a DAO works. Like I just don't. Like I mean I can tell you like right now like what I would do, what I think what I think is the best course of action. But again, like this isn't just me. I'm not the biggest token holder in the DAO at all. I've been buying a lot of SPS. Like I think I'm getting close to like 600,000 now. But like compare that to somebody like Bugtis or like Azurcon that are like pushing what
They're
like
getting close to 10
figures
million.
now. Like
Yeah.
like it's right. So I mean like I gotta respect that there's people that have a lot more stake in this. I just got a meeting alert, but it's for this. So I was like, crap, did I forget about a meeting? So I try to be mindful that like I'm not like the end all be all perspective, and like while I'll share my opinions, like one of the things that I've been kind of like vocal about recently is, I think we should, if nothing else, we should be looking at expanding and like opening new LPs. I actually did a post yesterday, or the day before, that was kind of like a deep dive audit of our LPs, and like I was showing people like my opinions of what I think are like basically undervalued LPs, what I think we're throwing way too much inflation at, and I think here's like one of the biggest opinions that I've been quite vocal about, and not everybody likes it, but I don't think the DAO should be paying SPS inflation to basically any pool that doesn't have an SPS pair. Like right now, we're paying for like multiple deck pools. Like we could look at Pancake Swap, right? Like our biggest pool is our SPS BNB pool. Our deck pool, like our I think it's like deck BUSD on BSC is doing way more volume. It's a way healthier pool, and you know what? This is how I look at it. SPS's core function is like if you break down all the niceties, if you break down like the governance aspect, you're supposed to be able to burn SPS to mint deck, right? Like that's where a lot of the value proposition for SPS comes from. Right now, we are literally paying people to facilitate not doing that. Like we're like not only are we facilitating not doing that, we're paying people to facilitate not doing that. So like I look at that as from like a DAO management perspective of like we're fundamentally failing our purpose and we're paying to do it. Like we're not just paying by devaluing our token, like we're spending our tokens to pay people to do this. Now, it's my opinion. Like obviously a lot of people don't necessarily feel that same way. But like to me, I think you have to look at the DAO from the perspective of the DAO is its own entity. And if you break it down to like what's in my own self interest, right? Like if I am the DAO, what is my self interest? My self interest is SPS going up, right? So anything that like I should be doing as a DAO should be creating value for my SPS token. So like whenever I look at ways that we're actively doing the opposite of that, I think we have to be able to address these situations and we have to be able to like look at this critically and think like what can we be doing better? I think with the introduction of deck pools coming on land, we're going to see a lot more need for deck liquidity in the game. So what I would like to see is at that point maybe we shift away from these deck liquidity pools that we're paying for. There's still like there would still be the SPS deck pool on a Hive engine, so technically like there's the arbitrage opportunity that people are worrying about. You know, like if the flywheel gets out of control, which please get out of control. But yeah, like so there needs to be an arbitrage pool. I get it. But that said, if there's going to be an arbitrage pool and we're going to pay for it, it should be an SPS deck pool. Like period. Like there should not be deck BUSD, deck DAI. Like you need SPS on all these chains, all these liquidity pools. SPS is the token that you need to be having people get access to. Like this is one of the fundamental purposes of how our economy is designed and works. Like people should be buying SPS and burning it for deck, not buying deck and just circumventing SPS entirely. So I think that's probably one of my opinions that I've been most vocal about, and I really hope that we can get some positive traction there. But yeah, I'm not opposed to sharing my opinion. I just don't like forcing my opinion on other people, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah, and so you think the issue is that the DAO just shouldn't be paying SBS rewards for those pools, or I mean, because the DAO
Well,
won't be able to just get rid of those pools, right?
well, so here's the thing. Like whether those pools exist or not is irrelevant. Like yeah, we set them up. Like we created the problem basically, but like those pools can still exist whether or not we're paying them to exist or not. What I'm saying is we currently have inflation, which I think it's my most recent post at Clayboyn on Peaked if you want to look at it. But we currently have inflation going to multiple pools that don't have an SPS pair. And you kind of like you have to ask yourself, like in the grand scheme of things, does this benefit SPS? And the argument is that like you want more liquidity, you want people to be able to move in and out of tokens easier. Like I get that, right? But the only token, like the DAO has to care about facilitating that far as SPS. And yeah, like deck is part of the equation. I'm not saying we should like actively like sabotage deck or anything, because I mean clearly like deck at peg is critical for this whole thing to work. That said, whenever we're basically paying people to not use the burn mechanism that adds value to SPS and create deck, what we're doing is we're just facilitating basically a workaround. So you don't have to deal with the burn mechanic. You don't have to pay like the little fee to convert that into deck. You can basically just go circumvent our whole system, move some Ethereum into Hive Engine, and just buy your deck that way. Which, whatever, it works. It gets money into the ecosystem. Okay, but like whenever we look at like the deck die pool on ETH is a good example. Most days it does like 0 to like a couple $100 in liquidity, like in volume. Sorry, and it's just like it's pointless whenever you consider we're paying out 220,000 SPS a month to this pool, and like maybe 3-4 days out of the month somebody does like $30,000 in volume. And here's the thing: we don't even know if that's actual volume or if that's just whoever's like hosting the liquidity that's just like basically reinvesting. You know, like they could just be taking their deck, chopping it, and basically doing a flip so that they can like level out their positions. Like we don't know, but yeah, like I have concerns with how some of these are set up, and I think we could be doing more. So that's one of the things is I'm doing my best to try to educate instead of just like telling people like, hey, this is bad, you don't understand. Like my goal is here's why, here's what we could be doing better, and like let's have some conversations. Do we want to go like say open up a pool on Matic? Like Matic's like one of the most popular L2s on Ethereum. I'm not the biggest fan of Matic personally, but I think there's an opportunity there. There's the opportunity to like open up a pool for SPS on Wax. There's if we want to look at BSC, there's Level Finance, which is one of the decentralized exchange protocols that has leverage trading. So if we want to like get a perpetuals pool going for SPS, we would have to work with like something like that, like Level Finance or like G Trade, like one of those that like operates on these other chains that would allow us to open up new types of pools. But yeah, I think the main thing is just like we have this SPS inflation that is currently going to what in my mind essentially circumvents the purpose of SPS. We could easily reroute, like even if we wanted to, we could just reroute it straight into the Pancake BNB pool, and we could just pump that pool to like crazy high liquidity. But yeah, like it's just there's so many different options of how we could handle the situation. But like what we're doing right now, just yeah, it's questionable to me. I think we could be making some better choices.
Let me ask you, Clay. So I just shared Hep and Clay both the what I think is the SPS DAO Twitter. Is that the SPS DAO? Is that the correct handle? Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the your high profile peaked peaked at Clayboyn. Are those two platforms the best way to kind of stay in the know as far as what you're working on? What are the current undertakings? How are you approaching these things? I'd love to, just
right
kind of
now,
inform everybody what is the best way for us to kind of stay in tune with your thought process and what you're kind of undertaking at the moment.
So right now, what I would say, if you really want to get involved in these discussions, you want to get holy crap, Dexit Peg. Sorry, like
I saw
I just
that.
saw this.
I just saw that. I just saw
Wait,
that.
what?
Yeah.
Really? I saw it up to like 0.94 earlier.
Deck just hit Peg, man. Like it's
Wow.
like guys, oh man, okay, but no,
Oh,
like if you want to get involved in like the real nitty gritty, like the building like conversations, these suggestions for topics. I've been building out a forum in the Splinterlands Discord. So like if you scroll down below like the general channels, you'll see DAO proposals. There's a DAO discussion room, which is just like general discussion. You can talk about pretty much anything that you kind of want to talk about DAO related. And then underneath that, you'll see the DAO discussion threads. And what I've done is I basically created a topic suggestion thread. So like somebody can go in there and just say like here's nerd Cthulhu. Rework the league SPS pool distribution to better reflect cost of participation. So right now there's 7 people saying let's have this discussion, and there's 2 people saying not worth it. So what I'll do is I'll wait until I feel like it's like if you look at Dave's, he wants a proposal for like time crystals for proposals, which is basically like you can burn extra deck to move them quicker through the pre-proposal phase. And it's got 13 support and one not support. Like I put a check and an X on everything just to like keep the options open. But yeah, so like basically what we do is we take these ideas from the community. So they're not just all my ideas, but we take these ideas and then we create a thread if there's enough interest to discuss it. So like here's one that's like getting close to I think something actionable. So there's a thread for reworking leaderboard prizes. This is something I've heard people complain about for like I don't even know how long at this point, like probably going on 2 years that people are just tired of printing deck for leaderboards. And Matt's stance has always been it's not that big of a deal, right? And I'm like, okay, but like here we are 2 years later, and not that big of a deal adds up over time. So like it's in my opinion that we should stop complaining about this and we should come up with an actual plan. So I put this thread together and I gave them some options to vote on. And let's see, I want to go back all the way up to the top so I can show you what exactly the options were. Option A was changing leaderboard rewards to chests. That was like a huge lead up front. Like that seemed to be what people were wanting. Option B is to start using some of the Rift Watcher packs we had in the DAO to replace the rewards. Option C was to use Rebellion packs. D was just do nothing, leave it like it is, keep the deck train pumping, and then I had option E. If you want to suggest something else, do that. Currently, uh, I'm on mobile, so I'm having trouble like seeing it. But option
I'm
B was
I,
like
I'm looking at it too, Clay. It looks like option C is running
yeah,
away with
option
it.
C. Yeah, option C. That's the one for rebellion packs. So this is just an example of what I'm trying to do, right? Like I'm trying to take all those people that are just they come in and it's like there's complaints, right? It's like you got a complaint. Okay, do you have a suggestion on how to do something better? A lot of times, like people are just like, I just want to complain, and I'm like, okay, well that's not productive, but do your thing. So what I generally try to do is I try to like find out what the complaint is and what do you think we should be doing better. If they don't have anything better, I might throw out some suggestions of how like we could approach this differently. Um, yeah, and just like that's what I want to do. I want to take these complaints, these like random criticisms, and figure out like how do we make real actionable proposals that we can get past that create this change, right? Instead of just coming into Discord and complaining about things for 2 years, right? Like, I mean, that's what some people have been doing, just like literally coming in, complaining, complaining, complaining. And I'm like, look, I get it, you're upset, but this isn't changing anything. So, what do we do to change it? And so far, I think we're getting some good progress. We're getting people focused on the topics, right? Like, you have this room. This is the only thing we're talking about in this room. Don't come in here with like your personal attacks. Don't come in here with like all these weird tangential topics that, theoretically, just come in, talk about the issue on the table, and let's figure out what we're going to do about it. And, like so far, I think it's going well. It's a little bit more heavy handed than the approach we've had in Discord before, but, I think it's needed, right? We need like a little bit of structure to get something productive out of this. And, yeah, like, I don't, I mean, I'm pretty optimistic. It seems to be going well so far. And, yeah, we might get our first community proposal out to change the leaderboards here quite soon.
What does that look like from the aspect of putting forth the proposal? Is that additional funds coming out of the DAO, or are we going to be shelling out the 100K DEC to put forth the proposal? What is, have we come to an agreement on what that will look like for you submitting on behalf of the community?
So I actually paid out of pocket to create a proposal a few days ago. I thought about doing it one of two ways. Either I needed basically the ability to make proposals just without burning the fee, because I've already burnt like 200,000 deck of my own just to like one just like the market maker proposal, because I feel like it's very time sensitive, and whether or not I want to pursue it or not, I think the community needs to have its chance to have a say, right? Like this is a pretty big issue for me just to say like we're not going to be listed on centralized exchanges anymore. So I think like that one to me was very important. So I got that one out there. I then my next one I put out was a proposal to subsidize my proposals. Well, my community proposals. So like basically,
And real
whenever
quickly, Clay, when you say my community proposals, you mean the DAO's proposals?
right.
Yeah.
So like if you look at like what I'm doing in those rooms, trying to like gather consensus, that's what I'm saying. So like basically,
Yeah.
whenever I go to like report my work for the month, like basically what I'm thinking at this point is I'm just going to do like a big long post of what all I worked on during the month. And what I'll do is I'll also invoice basically for proposals that I made for the community. So I'll say like let's say we make like two or three proposals that month. Like then the DAO will just burn 300,000 deck to basically subsidize those proposals.
Hmm.
That way, like instead of just asking for like the ability to make free proposals, which I don't think would get a lot of support. And honestly, I just don't have the money to like personally burn on proposals nonstop. So I think it's the best of both worlds. And like if we're being honest, man, there's a lot of deck building up in the DAO that we may never see come out or may never see get used for anything. You know,
Well, and it's to be totally fair, it's probably in our aggregate best interest to see that deck never leave the DAO.
Yeah.
And the best way to
right,
do that is with something like this, is
right.
just keep it and burn it directly as part of the proposal subsidy program.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, like let's be realistic here. I don't think I'm going to realistically be able to make enough proposals to wipe out the deck that's in the now. Like, I mean,
Well,
like
what are we paying you for then, Clay?
I mean, like, dude, if we could get that many proposals out, like that would be amazing. But like, yeah, I mean, we're talking about like hundreds of millions of deck in the now at this point, and you only burn 100,000 to create a proposal. So like, we would need thousands and thousands of proposals to like make a
Yeah.
real dent. So I'm not super concerned. Like that was one of the things that people were like, oh, I'd rather not burn the deck, and I'm just like, I can get you having that perspective, but like it's not like this is any meaningful amount of the DAO's deck. Like I can't imagine it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Sure.
especially if the idea is to kind of be able to do this thing like they're doing with the packs moving forward, where every 2 years or so, or I mean, yeah, I don't even know what the mini sets are. The mini sets still going to go directly to the DAO, or probably is the idea sort of similar where the DAO will pay Splinterlands to make the mini sets, and then maybe all the money from the mini sets goes to the DAO, or a higher percentage instead of a 50-50 split.
Well, so here's something to consider. Matt's not the biggest fan of mini sets.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting Matt to push a mini set, I don't know. Like I don't know how likely it is that we'll see Matt pushing a mini set. Now, on the other hand, if you say want to see Splinterlands do a collab with I've been so Splinterlands focused. I'm not like super familiar with all the other like up and coming Web3 games, but like let's say you know Axie
Like,
or something, right?
yeah,
Let's
sure.
say you want to see a Splinterlands X Axie collab, right? Now
I
I
want to
don't
say
even
Chibi Dinos.
right. So like I'm just like I'm not saying that's ever gonna happen. I'm just throwing out a name that I can think of off the top of my head. So like let's say somehow like I get in touch with them or they get in touch with me and they're like what's it going to take to make this happen? Like what's it going to take to see like an Axie promo card in Splinterlands and maybe like some kind of like Splinter like maybe like a Rexy Axie or something, right? So like what I would do is I would try to talk with them and figure out like some kind of like acceptable terms for our community that I think would benefit the DAO, and like I'm sure they're going to do the same on their end. I would probably bring that to Matt, and I'd be like, "Look, man, like we got this opportunity. Two of the biggest Web3 games in the world. Like, can we? You think we can make this happen?" And now, if that's like a mini set, or if that's like some kind of promo deal, I think that's something I could probably sell the team on. Especially if there's value to be had there. But again, like right now, I think as far as like my approach right now, I think I'm looking to limit how much dev work we're asking the team for because I just like working for the company. I've got a pretty good idea of where we're at, how things work internally, and like I don't think people are going to want to hear this, but I think to get like real meaningful like development, like I think we're going to probably be a few months out. I think right now you're getting land as the main focus, which hopefully if 1.5 is dropping next week, we've got Rebellion, which has taken up most of Creative's resources. That's supposed to be ready to go live in about 3 weeks now. I think land is still going to be having some development going on, obviously, because we're going to be rolling right into trying to get the LPs out on land. We're going to be rolling into trying to get surfing done and other things. So I think that land development is going to be ongoing and it's going to be eating up resources. But what I would like to see once Rebellion's out, and I think Matt's kind of like said something similar, like we have to focus on new player experience, right? Like we need to free up enough creative time and resources to start building out things like functioning tutorial and new player systems, right? Like we have to. This is something I can tell you from like working on the marketing aspect, and I think Chatter spoke about it in the town hall, so I don't think this is like super proprietary information, but like there was a lot of people that were joining and just quitting like before even playing 10 matches, right? And like a lot of this was due to bots. This is one of the reasons why I was like so adamant that like we had to finally address the bot situation, because they were point blank killing new player experience. Now, yeah, that's a contentious topic. You know, people are going to debate it and all that. But what I'm telling you, like, looking at the facts, like people were coming in, they were like, "This is horseshit," and they were just quitting like immediately. So, you know, some of that was on us. Like, we need to do a better job introducing people to the game. We need that new player experience. We need to figure. You know, one of the things that I've suggested, and I really hope we get to see, is some kind of like tutorial, like almost like a PVE type system where you can go in, you can like play through some like standard matches with like standard sets of cards that kind of like it's almost like a puzzle, right? Like, how do I solve this puzzle to win the match? And then maybe they get like a soulbound or reward card for like their effort. I want to see some stuff like that that kind of like drives the player ownership aspect and kind of like makes them it educates them while giving them some sense of like growth. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of things the team can do to like build out new player experience to fix a lot of these problems. But yeah, and until we address them, it's really hard to like market and grow Splinterlands. And I think Matt's fully aware of that too. I mean, I would say that's probably why the whole marketing team is gone. You know, it's like you need a marketable product to market it. Like other than that, it's just like you're just pushing hype. You know, and that's not sustainable.
Mm. Yeah, you raise a couple of good points there too, Clay, and just real quickly want to touch on the marketing bit. It's been an interesting kind of experience watching, you know, for the last year since the layoffs, Chatter kind of leading up until the more recent round of layoffs, Chatter kind of slowly moved from being an always present town hall face to, you know, every couple of town halls to, I think there was a good stretch where we didn't hear from Chatter for ages. And you know, what is there really to market? And that begs to question, like, should we be marketing the product, or should we be letting things like DEC hitting peg and SPS, you know, achieving new percentage growths and green candles? Is that the marketing that we should be going after, and therefore focusing on, you know, other aspects of the game for when they do eventually, the new players for when they do eventually arrive? You know, I have a personal opinion about that. I think, you know, each of us in this room probably do as well. But something else I want to hear your thoughts on, Clay. So you mentioned that Matt has never been a fan of the mini sets, and that's something I was kind of unaware of. Does that mean, in your opinion, does that mean that we'll be seeing kind of more substantial releases of soulbound cards to kind of supplement the core set, or more frequent releases of soulbound cards? How does that, or are we just going to be operating with a smaller set of total cards in modern, or what? How do you kind of foresee that playing out in this new era of Yaba as CEO?
So I should clarify. I don't think from like my interactions with him and the things that I've heard him say, I don't think he's a big fan of doing the mini sets. And I think probably to some extent it just comes down to like the constant need to sell. Like he's you know, he like you can listen to the way he talks in the recent town halls. Like he's made it clear that his perspective on how this company should run is very different. Like the constant like needing to sell is just not sustainable. You know, like you can look at a company like the Pokemon trading card game or Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh. Like they have such wide market appeal that like they can just push out new sets constantly. I think Magic does like 4 a year. Like so, you know, like put that in perspective. You got a company like Magic the Gathering that can crap out like 4 a year. Half those are like reprints and whatever. But yeah, like it's just it's not feasible for Splinterlands to be like asking people to buy multiple sets every single year. And I think that's like what he was kind of getting at whenever he was talking about it. But I don't know. I'm not gonna say we're never gonna see another mini set. Like, I don't want that to be the takeaway here. But I don't think he's as gung ho about like trying to like push them constantly. What I would like to see is more promo cards, and I think that like that's something we can probably do with the DAO. Now there has been like some like kind of like rumblings, like early talks. Like it sounds like people would like to see maybe trying to think of how to put this. Like, imagine like if the DAO put together like its own kind of like little bitty like mini set, and it's like some like the biggest Splinterlands influencers. I always find that term weird, but like taking people like Aftersound, Bulldog, whatever, and like making kind of like a little mini set of like 5 to 10 cards of just like random like notable people in the Splinterlands ecosystem that are out there like making videos. Like, I mean, maybe you guys just kind of like getting some kind of like little like soft kind of community mini pack. But like even then, like it wouldn't have to be a sell. Like what if we pitch this to the team, like we're like, hey, here's these people, we want to make like a like almost like what was it, the orbs, like the super mini set from like alpha beta days. What if we wanted to push something like that, and then we just give those out in like rewards chests, right? Like instead of putting rebellion packs in rewards chests, maybe we put those. And it's a card you can only get for play. It's a card that kind of like gives something back to the community, and I think that's what we need. We need like looking at creative ways to like add value to the game that aren't necessarily just like give me more money. And I think that's something we could probably feasibly make happen as the DAO. Like if we got a proposal passed that that's what people wanted, and like I facilitated the like getting the conversations together. I mean, like of course you'd have to worry about like getting the sign offs and the releases for all the the likenesses and all of that crap. But yeah, I mean, like to me, like it's stuff like that that we could figure out to do that we could probably use to market, right? Like we could, if we wanted to like go make a promo card collab with, like this is a terrible example. I'm trying to think of who comes to mind, but like go back like 2 or 3 years before the super crazy arc, but like somebody like BitBoy, right? Like I realize that's a terrible example right now, but if like, let's say we wanted to reach out to like an influencer, right, or like somebody that's like a big name and like maybe like Crypto Wendigo or like you know like blockchain chick, crypto tips, like people like that, like people that have been a part of Hive in the past. Like we could reach out to like some of those bigger names and try to do a like a promo collab with them, right? Like what if Heidi was like a character on like a Splinterlands card, and then she could like market that or like give away copies of that promo card to like all the people that watch crypto tips, and then we can like put them in a rewards chest or something, and then like there's like a month where everybody can get Heidi cards. It's just like we can think of creative ways to market from a DAO's perspective, but again, it comes back to what are we market, right? Like, is the game in a place where if you're going out and like you're spending resources to bring in people, is the game gonna stick? And right now, the answer is no. Like we know that definitively because we've tried it. Like we tried marketing to Web 2. We tried we did the Brave browser thing. There's a few people that stick, but like in general, the cost is so high that like it's just not worth it. Like you burn so much more resources than you ever get in value out of it, if that makes sense. Like
Well,
it's
Clay,
like I think we
let me ask you real quick while you're on the subject, and what I mentioned earlier about what is the best marketing campaign for Splinterlands? Is that focusing on the tokenomics and bringing DEC to peg and green candles with SPS,
yeah,
and is that
yeah
the best marketing? Is that what we should be in pursuits of?
right now I think that's what we've got. Like that's what the DAO can do right now that's meaningful is yeah, like basically incentivize the SPS flywheel. And again, like it's not like a random like one-off like pump thing, right? Like if we can get deck to peg through burns, right, like or staking, whatever we got to do to get deck to peg, then the only way to really get more deck into the ecosystem, especially if we get this reward, this like the leaderboard rewards change out, then basically you have to burn SPS to mint deck. Like that's it. Like that's your only option. And once we get there, like that's gonna basically drive its own results. And then again, instead of having people like shout out to VC Dragon, gotta come in and drop charts every day and complain SPS is down another 0.001 cent or whatever. Instead of that every day, then yeah, like you get some positive momentum, that word of mouth on social media, and people posting their charts and bragging. Like that's probably about the best we can hope for at the moment, right? And I'm just being a realist with you. Like we've tried marketing the actual game. I was part of the marketing team. It doesn't matter how much I love the game, how much you love the game. If we can't bring people in and give them a decent enough experience that they want to stick around longer than an hour, then we got a problem. So I think we're finally at a place where the team is ready to like accept that and start addressing it. That said, I think we have outstanding obligations that have to be dealt with. I think land has to be delivered on, like land 1.5, but like here we are, we're pretty much there. Rebellion has to come out to keep the company alive because without any income, like that's just not happening. So I think once the immediate needs are met, which is kind of what they're trying to do right now, get the immediate needs met, then I think we can actually start seeing some positive movement towards new player experience and actually retaining people that we bring in instead of just people coming to like, I can win a couple of SPS and bronze and then like, hoping SPS goes up. We can have people that are like, man, this game's actually pretty fun. And I think once we get there, we have it's kind of like a snowball effect, right? Positive sentiment on the tokens, people coming in and being like, huh, I think whenever we can get those things going, they kind of like just snowball and we end up in a lot better position where we have a lot more options to even equation and marketing, unfortunately. Well, other than just guerrilla marketing tactics, but
Yeah, I've been thinking about, how much, SBS doesn't really have to go that high for it to be an impact that for people like, people in Thailand play, but, you're getting like, I'm playing in gold and I'm getting, maybe 4 or 5 SPS a win in modern, and, you get it up to 5 cents and, that's, you're looking at 25 cents. That's, couple matches a day, you could buy yourself some silkworms to eat on the street. I think you can get there pretty
Nice
quickly.
callback,
Right?
Kip.
So,
Nice callback,
Kip.
Kip.
It doesn't have to move that much, so I think we just got to get it going right a little bit.
well, no, and I mean, man, like honestly, this is one of the things that like really got me into Hive or Steam back in the day. Is and man, I've met like so many really awesome people. Like just like understanding like the meaningful like impact this stuff can have on people's lives in Venezuela. Like man, that was a big one for me, right? Like basically we were, like like Steam has basically been around since the big economic collapse in Venezuela, right? So you got to remember, like people were basically, I don't know, I don't want to get too into it and too graphic, but like it was bad. Like yeah, like I don't know if you guys know how bad it was, but like you couldn't find food. If you could find food, it was like rotten, spoiled. Like like animals populations were getting wiped out. Like people were starving. Like you understand, like and then being able to like come on something like Steam and even make like $1 a day was like life changing for these people. And like look at like the Philippines. You got like the Philippines, Venezuela, even I bet you Argentina is not going to be far behind at this point because Argentina is looking like it's getting ready to deal with well, it's kind of already dealing with hyperinflation, but just like getting out of our like westernized perspective and realizing that there are countries where people like literally this is how they eat, and like Hive can do that for them. I think it's a very awesome experience, right? And then personally, like big picture, I would love to see, let's say like we get through this year, SPS is on the right track, everything's going well. Maybe they want to bring me back on for another year. I would love to see at some future point, like the SPS DAO actually doing like real world projects that like, you want to talk about marketing. Like imagine you go to, like a country where they don't have access to clean water and you've got like an SPS DAO well well, like pumping like clean water to these people. Like Hive's doing that right now. Hive, I think they've built like several like actual wells in Africa just to like bring people water. And I mean, like they've got the Hive logo. So not only like are you actually making people's like real world lives, better, but like you've got free marketing for life in a community that drastically needs it. Like they'll imagine how many of those people join Hive and just start posting. And whether or not I get that everybody doesn't see the value, or people just think like, oh, well, they're just going to come extract. And I'm like, yeah, like, I mean, I can see that, that people have this complaint about, people that want to come and just make money. But I mean, like at the grand scheme of things, how many people have that perspective because they just want to come and make money?
Right. Yeah. They don't want people making a little bit of money because they want themselves making a lot of money. Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think like being able to get outside of just our own like limited perspective and just realizing that it's a big world out there, and there's people that are in very different situations than we are, man. You said earlier y'all did the Asia thing. Like, have you ever been to like Cambodia? Like, I went to Cambodia for one day because I had to go do a border run, and yeah, man, it was eye opening that there's like literally next door, like look, Thailand's not like a rich nation. I mean, like as far as like how everyday people like live their lives, like I would say people are happy in general. Most people seem pretty content, but like it's a struggle, right? Like people had to work every day just to kind of like get by and survive. But like you walk next door to Cambodia, man, and I was just like, wow, I was floored at like how big of a disparity I saw. Like literally like walking across an imaginary line. And yeah, man, like it's just it's a good reminder that like you have to understand not everybody's in the same situation, and like while we can have our own perspective about how other people are using the system and we can try to like control it, I think what we just need to do is build a good sustainable system and let people use it how they need to use it. Imagine imagine complaining about like a guy in Venezuela making $1 a day to eat off of from Splinterlands while having some guy run 50,000 bots. it's just like it's just like that. That's the kind of stuff that just like hurts my brain. But again, like I also think that a lot of times when people are just like, oh, they're just extracting, like you don't see that they're building up these accounts. Like a lot of times people, like especially the Philippine community, like they're building and growing their own accounts. They're doing like peer-to-peer trades. They have Facebook groups. And yeah, so like whenever I see people come in and just like make like these big blanket disparaging comments about, like these people are poor and they're just here to get money out of us, I'm like, man, like if you had any idea just like how blanket insulting that is, but also just it's just
it's objectively false. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, on that note, man, and I'm gonna call back to our good old buddy Waskell. I don't know if you are familiar with our podcast, but he was the original host. I started the People's Guild with Waskell, and we had been talking about the idea of kind of expanding the scope of the People's Guild to include a tournament series. And what we wanted to do was set up some charitable contributions through the the buy-in involved with playing in the tournament. And it sounds like your heart is aligned with what we were trying to accomplish, Clay. So I'm sure Hep and I and you, we could put our minds together and come up with something along those lines. And I think fortunately there for every bad actor that is involved in this community, there's somebody that brings a lot of value, that their heart is also in the right place. And I think we could probably get some, put some rubber to the road on something like that at this point in time, especially with you kind of spearheading, the project management side and the voice and the impact that you have now. So if that's something that you'd be keen to kind of fire up in terms of, potential future opportunities, now I'd love to be a part of that. I think Hep would also. And, yeah, man, just some food for thought. If we can put together a tournament series that, even a percentage would go to some charitable contribution in one of these countries where, pennies is actually a very meaningful and impactful, sum of cash. Yeah, we'd love to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, man.
So
Like
Clay,
I think it's something meaningful that, like, especially this is one of the things whenever I think about like what does like token appreciation for the SPS DAO mean. Like, to me, it's not hard to see us doing 100% flip, right? Because like we're down at 1.4 cents, so going to like 2.8 cents is 100% green candle. I mean, it's kind of absurd that like that small of a movement is, but also think about how much SPS the DAO holds. So like the SPS DAO, I'm trying to think. It's like I want to say, like, are we getting close to like 200 million or like it's a lot, right? So like whenever you think about like even something like going up a penny, like we basically just doubled the DAO's, well, not full double because we hold non SPL assets too, but like you know what I'm saying, like it's a huge influx of cash for the DAO, and thinking about things we can do to like not only like better ourselves, but like doing good and positive things in the world is its own marketing, right? And I think like we see that with Hive. Like Hive has been pushing a lot of like how do we do community outreach projects. Like I don't agree with all of them, but I do think that it's important, and I think that if we do it strategically and we do it well, then we can actually make like good meaningful impact in the world, and that is its own marketing.
agreed. Well, yeah, Clay, I want to be cognizant of time. We just clicked over on the 2 hour mark, and let's kind of start winding down. I want to understand what is the best way that us as community members can kind of support what you're doing. And I realize through so primary forms of communication for you are going to be, and I'll plug all these links into our own Peak D article, kind of summing up the episode, and I'll tag it on Twitter, that sort of stuff. But at the SPS DAO on Twitter, at Clayboyn on Peaked or on the Hive front ends, and then through the Splinterlands DAO discussion Discord group. Is that kind of your plan moving forward as far as the best ways to reach out and communicate with you?
Yeah, if you're a Discord person and you care at all about the DAO, like you should be getting involved. I just think like that's kind of like our current like grassroots discussions to even get change started. On my blog posts, I hadn't been posting for a long time while working for the company just because I didn't have time. But I'm trying to get back more into that and just share more of like my information out there. Like like right now, I did a breakdown on the LPs. I did a really big deep dive into the whole exchange market maker situation, just because I think a lot of people just don't understand. And I think like I can share a lot of that kind of like valuable information to help us become better educated and make better decisions. So yeah, like if you want to like learn more about that stuff or follow the proposals that I make, I guess that would be your best bet is to follow my blog. But yeah, anybody like going out and like following the new Twitter account, because I'm not going to be running the official Splinterland socials anymore. They agreed to take that in house, so which I think it makes sense, right? Like I think that they should own their own socials because while they trust me and clearly like I'm not going to do anything stupid, like it is just like an unnecessary security risk to have like somebody that's not a member of the team out there running those socials, right? Like yeah,
No,
you don't want to
separation
see
of church
somebody
and
like
state, man.
right, and you don't want to like I mean like I'm not a bad actor, but like assume I was, right? Like assume I wanted to go out there and just take over their official socials and start posting like scam links or something. Like I mean like even if like I'm not the person to do this, these are all things that are like always in my mind. It's like how can somebody exploit this? I've been around crypto too long, I guess. I'm always looking for the angle for somebody to mess things up.
Cool. Okay. And then as far as I was curious with respect to your kind of Hive front end account, are you going to continue to plan to post on behalf of the DAO through your personal account? Do you have any plans to set up like the SPS DAO Hive front end account to manage that stuff?
So technically there's already an SPS DAO account on Hive, and I'm pretty sure that's the one that makes the tournaments. We haven't done the handover yet because I'm actually supposed to start making the tournaments as part of my proposal. But yeah, once I get that handover, that may be part of the discussion that Matt and I have, is that I start making like whatever these proposals that I'm putting out there. Like if the community does vote to subsidize these proposals, maybe I do them on the SPS.DAO account. So right now it's a bit up in the air because I still haven't got handed like a handoff there. But once we figure that out and figure out how we're going to proceed there, which I think Matt is out for a few days, so I'm hoping maybe next week or early next week I'll be able to have those conversations with them, because I need to start figuring out how to make the tournaments anyway. But yeah, like that's a very real possibility that we'll be, at least if nothing else, making the proposals on that account.
Got you.
I just don't have a firm answer right now. I wish I did.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, Hep, any other thoughts before we close the book on?
No, it's been, great to say, I just want to say it's been great to talk to you and hear some of your backstory. Yeah, when I saw the proposal for you to be the community manager, project manager, I didn't really know too much about you. So it's been great to kind of meet you and hear your story. And I think from what I've heard today, in getting to know you, I think, it seems like the DAO, I think we all made, DAO made the right decision, and I think it's in good hands.
Yeah, I've always been I don't know. This is definitely getting out of my comfort zone. I'm much more comfortable just being the guy in the background, just making things happen. And like I don't know. I don't really care about things like fame or like notoriety or anything like that. Like I would be completely fine if I could just do this job and nobody even knew who I was. But part of doing this job is the people want to like hear and speak to me and have like that direct contact. So I think that's fair. I think they're giving me the opportunity. Then I need to be willing to, come out of my shell a little bit instead of just, being hunkered down and trying to like work in the background. I think it's part of the equation is I got to be a little bit more visible, and so it's a little out of my comfort zone, but that's fair. I've got to, if I want to do something different, it's going to be a little awkward. So here we are.
Yeah, how many of these have you done? How many streams and stuff have you done? This is like I know you did with did you do with After Sound? I know you did with Gank and Keys.
I did one with CryptoZard.
Okay.
So like here's the funny thing. I actually did a philosophy podcast for like multiple years. But it was like I was never like on video. It was just me and I have a good like Aussie friend, and we would just talk about random philosophical, psychological topics, things like that. We would like bring on like random people. Like sometimes people are just like suffering with like depression and stuff, and like we just had like conversations, and like it had like a good like little following, like maybe like 10, 20 people that would just like kind of like regularly come in and tune in and just kind of like interact. But yeah, I don't know. It was never like anything I felt like was about me, if that makes sense. Even
Sure.
so yeah, it's a little different being like a focal point for a lot of these conversations instead of just like a facilitator. But it's okay. I think if I'm so sure and so passionate about the fact that the DAO needs to kind of like get its stuff together and start making some progress, then I've got to be willing to step outside of my comfort zone and help make it happen. So here we are.
Got to thicken up that skin some, I'm sure.
I hear silkworms is good for that.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I'm not opposed to. I might give them a try, but like,
yeah,
I think
look at that!
look
at that! 2 hour conversation and relentless badgering, and we got you there.
I don't know about the scorpions, man. Like I feel like the crunchiness. Like I think it would just make me think of eating a cockroach, and like I think that's something else I hear people do in some parts of the world.
So I will tell you, I was in Pattaya and I tried the, it's like the big emperor scorpion for anybody who hasn't seen it. It's the big black scorpion, and it comes on a skewer, like fresh off the barbecue. And I'm really partial to texture. Texture is really like my trigger point when it comes to foods. And I was I was actually pleasantly surprised with the scorpion. It was like the closest thing flavor wise, like the flavor profile of the scorpion. It was not too dissimilar from black olives, oddly enough, which was the first thing that came to my mind was like a really crunchy exterior with like a black olive flavor on the inside. Yeah, Clayboyn does not look enticed.
Oh man, like I feel like the crunch would get me, because like I don't mind crunchy food, but like knowing I'm crunching on a bug, I think would like the silkworms look kind of gushy, so like maybe I can just like in my mind imagine it's like a, you know, like maybe like a soft meat or something. But man, I feel like if I crunch into something like a scorpion or like a giant, like one of those like giant cockroach things or something, like I just like, man, like to me, I think that's like that would be my worst case scenario. Is like I go get one of these things, I end up just like throwing up like right in front of the people. Like how offensive that would be.
Well, you take
like
it to go. You take it to go, Clay. You take it to go.
Yeah, you walk in the back alley so you don't offend the people. But man,
Oh man,
I'm gonna say though, what you were saying about the fruits, dude. Like, just if anybody ever has a chance to come to Thailand, man, like go out, like see the islands, man. Just see. It's such, dude. I'm telling you, like it feels like you're in an Avatar movie, man. You look at like the weird, like little fruits. It looks so alien coming from the U.S. It's a wild place, man.
yeah, beautiful world, man. And yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with Thailand. The fruits, next level. The people, and this is something that you called out at the beginning of the episode. The Thai people in general, I found to be some of the warmest, like most genuine and welcoming people on the planet. Super friendly, and yeah, we're just a great place. But on that note, Clay, if you ever find yourself, you and your lady coming over to Taiwan, or I don't suppose you need to do any border runs anytime soon, but we're a hop, skip, and a jump away from you, man. You're always welcome, and shoot me a message on Discord. I'd be happy to show you guys around, play tour guide a little bit, and yeah, show you a different side of Southeast Asia. I promise not to put you through the same pain and suffering that I put my parents through when it comes to unknown cuisine.
Oh no, she'd probably be down for that because the stuff I've seen her eat. But yeah, man, that's awesome because we might can make it happen. But yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just throw this out there. Like I haven't really talked about this, but like yeah, it's pretty serious. Like I haven't actually ever met anybody that I considered marrying before, and you know, it's interesting how it happens. Like it just kind of like clicks, and we get along really well. So who knows? It's in my mind, but you know, if we go that route, then maybe I will be in Thailand for a long time. So
Wow.
you know, there's a lot of things to consider. But man, I'm loving it. Like it's like honestly, it's like one of the happiest I've ever been in my life, and you know, I'm glad I get the opportunity to keep working for you know in the Splinterlands community and working for the DAO, man.
Beautiful,
Awesome,
man. Yeah,
We're lucky to
appreciate
have
you. Yeah, wearing your heart on your sleeve a little bit there, Clay, and considering what you know kind of alluded to earlier, coming from your darkest days 10 years ago to you know the highest of highs thus far. Hopefully, there's many more highs ahead for you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it just comes down to our mentality, man. Like realizing that you know we don't have to just do things that just make us unhappy out of like some sense of obligation, you know, and just like I just feel like life is so much different when you pursue things and you do things because you genuinely want to do them, right? Like they're just they align with who you are, and you know, I think like if I wish like if anything, I wish I could have learned that earlier. But you know, you don't control when you get the message, right? So
you.
just be happy I finally got it and just live my life differently now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Clay, I'm gonna echo Hep. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, man. We tried talking just before, or I guess just after the last around Pretoria, and tried getting you on, and then the layoffs happened, and then you became a content creator superstar the subsequent weeks, and we finally wrangled some time to get you on, and it hasn't disappointed, man. I hope you had a good time. I certainly did, getting to know you, and I appreciate you, taking some time out of your morning to hop on with the People's Guild and have a chat, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Capcom Cop.
No, look at you, bro. Look at you, man. Nice.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna start trying to learn Thai here soon too. So yeah,
Oh,
it should
dude.
be interesting. I picked up I was picking up Spanish pretty quick. Like I'm not fully conversational, but I'm hoping I can pick up Thai. But yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Awesome.
cool. All right, Clay. For everybody out there, thank you for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. You have been listening to
The People's Guild.